What's up, fellow lords of gaming? Welcome back to the channel. We're jumping in with more the first Descendant content. I want to give you guys some tips for starting out on your journey in the first Descendant. I know it's like a week late, but I wanted to make sure I had a breadth of knowledge about the game. As you can see, I finally made it into the hard mode stages and I've been clearing out hard mode bosses. Yeah, so take that I've got some kind of knowledge about this, not to mention I played Warframe for years and the game is pretty much like I copied your homework a little bit, but you know, did it a little different. So let's jump in and let's talk about it. Hopefully you find this helpful. If you do, please like and subscribe to the channel. It really helps the channel grow, and that way I can bring you guys more content on diverse games and more content on the first Descendant as well. So let's jump right in. So number one, the biggest thing is going to be starting out the game. So if you haven't started playing already, you're going to notice really quickly that you essentially have one choice that you have to make in the beginning. That's going to probably tell you what your journey is going to be at the very least for, you know, the first chapter of the game. And that's going to be which Descendant to start out with. You're only going to have the choice between Ajax, Lepic, and Viessa. I highly suggest that you go with Ajax. The reason why I'm saying this is because Bunny's going to be available to you immediately in the Albion region and the Vesper regions pretty early on in the game. So if you don't like Ajax, then you can switch over to her, but eventually you're going to want to play Ajax, trust me. Other than that, like, you're going to probably work your way into characters like Glay and Volby, who to me are just standouts from the other Descendants as well from when we played them. So I would highly suggest that you select Ajax, but let's be honest, we all know that's you all came here for Bunny, but she's going to be available pretty early, so you don't worry about that. Number two, this is going to be like a really weird one, and I'm pretty sure I'll probably see some pushback for them, but don't worry about your weapons and your reactors, your external components early on in the game. The reason why I'm saying this is because your inventory is going to become quickly overwhelmed with the sheer volume of weapons and reactors and external components that you get, and you're going to be in here trying to save up for all of them. And the truth of the matter is you're going to be refarming these items anyways down the road. Like, trust me, you're realistically going to end up getting these same weapons when you get to hard mode, when you get to end game. So there's really no point of holding on to these. And it might look like valuable for you to be like, oh, well, what about the substats? The substats are where the gun is dropped at for that level, so it's not going to really be that big of a difference to you whether you transmit to the next 20 levels or not, because then you're going to have to redo the substats. So trust me, don't worry so much about those. Don't worry so much about the reactors, because you're going to be farming these 100 level reactors from the hard mode game in different areas anyways. The same thing for the components. You're going to end up playing hard mode bosses to get specific sets for your specific builds, whether it's going to be like, the Slayer set, so that way you could use this with a character like whether you could use this for a character like Ajax, or whether it's going to be a different set for like the Polar Night Memory, so you could use that for any of your chill based characters, or whether you go for the Supernova set, for instance, where you want to build that out for Bunny. You're going to be getting these in other places, so don't spend so much time trying to hold on and hoard these things inside your inventory. If you want to hold on to ultimate versions and stuff that you might get along the way, sure, do that, but your commons, your rares, and even your heroics or whatever, just trash them for the materials that you'll probably need anyways. That brings me up to a point about weapons. Use multiple weapons. These are going to help you gain your proficiency inside your mastery, which is going to help your character account overall. You want to be getting to at least like 15 mastery rank 15, so that way you can start seeing some of the rewards for basically getting your Descendant capacity modules up, which can go up to about 80 per your Descendants. So you want to be working on that. So use multiple weapons. Don't just stick to one. Some of the bigger standouts in the game are going to be the Tamer, going to be the Vestigial Rocket Launcher, and then the Thunder Cage, at least early on. There are probably going to be some ultimate weapons that will lock through grinding on that will probably maybe outshine these. I've unlocked a few of them, but I haven't really found anything that just smacks as hard as Tamer is. Thank you to Moxie. He's another content creator. Go check out his channel for pointing out the Tamer machine gun, because it really has helped me clear a lot of content. And I'm not ashamed to say, like, I didn't know and I wasn't using it, and now I'm just mowing through everything. So that brings me up to another point. Switch weapons. Feel free to switch weapons. As long as they provide you more DPS and they're at a higher level, then switch them. Like I said, you're going to be getting different weapons, the same weapons, different weapons with different substats, same stats. If they have a higher DPS number, switch them. The really good part is that the mods that you have equipped to your weapons, they will carry over to any other weapon that you have. Feel free along the path to switch them out. I would save up on your resources from doing weapon transmissions or substat reconfigurations. It's just not worth it, especially in the early game where you're going to be getting confronted with, I'm going to enter a new zone and it's going to be up 5-10 different levels. Just grind out the weapons there. Trust me, you're going to have that issue. The same thing for your Descendants. Feel free to play multiple Descendants. Like, you specifically want to be ranking up multiple Descendants so that way you can benefit from the mastery rank overall. So, like, for instance, you can see here I got Bunny, I had an Ajax, and I had Ultimate Ajax. I leveled them up. I finally completed my research for Freyna, so I'm going to level her up, and then I'm going to start working on trying to farm for Glay and Volby, so that way I can get those characters up. You want to at least get them to their max level for 40 and get that proficiency level. This brings me to another important point. You're going to get some items that are going to allow you to level up your Descendants and your weapons. They're going to be energy activators and catalysts. Choose wisely which Descendants and which weapons you want to put these things on, because wasting these things could be like, you don't want to basically pick up a character that you don't like and then you've wasted a catalyst or you've wasted a energy activator on, which is going to enable you to take that character to new levels. Trust me, don't do it. So this brings me to another point about mods, and that's investing in general mods instead of getting into specific builds for one Descendant early on in the game. What I mean by that is you're going to have a couple of mods that I'm going to say that, like for your Descendants, that you probably want to invest in, because those mods are going to carry over to other Descendants and help you out in terms of completing and leveling them up. Specifically, increased defense, increased HP, increased shield, skill expansion, and nimble fingers are some of the top ones that I see. You're going to end up getting some ultimate, and you're going to get some transcendent mods and some sub mods that are going to change the way that you play the game for those, and whether or not you're going to want to go for those specific characters. Like, for instance, I've got the proliferating allergy, and I already wanted to play Yujin, so this is just going to make me want to grind out Yujin more, since I've got one of those transcendent mods. It's a Yujin exclusive, right? Like, okay, cool. I got J-Bears. I even got, two of J-Bears, excuse me. So, like, those are going to be the type of things that you want to look out for when you're playing. So try to invest in the general mods that can carry over between characters, and not on the ones that are like character specific, especially when you don't have like at least 5 to 7 Descendants that have basically allowed you to hit that max mastery rank inside there. You want to basically make sure that you can help out all your Descendants, and be careful, because the module capacity cost will eat up how many of these mods you can have. Remember, the goal isn't to have all 12 slots filled. The goal is to have the best mods available for your character that are going to help you out with the build that you're specifically seeking. So just pay attention to that. For the weapons, the same thing is true. Invest in mods that can be generally used. Some of the mods that I find very available for multiple types of weapons and stuff like that: action reaction, rifling reinforcement, weak point sight, fire rate up, and even the chill enhancement. Shout out to Moxie again, because when I was building out the Tamer one, I already knew about rifling reinforcement and the fire rate up, and then your chill, your toxic, your electric, and those different elemental mods. But he pointed out the weak point sight damage, and that really helped take up the damage that I was doing inside of the boss modes. And then the action reaction, I saw the recoil on that, and I didn't think that the firearm attack was going to go scale up this high. Really matters. So go pay attention to those inside of there. Now be aware that when you do the mods for the weapons, you have to do the mod increases based on round type. So whether it's general general rounds, high impact rounds, you're going to have to change based on those. So if you're using more weapons that have, you know, general round types, like I'm using for Thunder Cage and the machine gun for the Tamer, you want to basically make sure you get those mods up for those specific ones. Just know that they do change. So like, for instance, fire rate up on my impact rounds ain't the same as my fire rate up on my general rounds. That's just something to be aware of. Next up, when you're going into the world, party up, guys. Party up. One of the big things about the game that I was like really deeply confused about is, especially when I got to the White Knight Gulch area, the Hagios and the Fortress area specifically, was how big the landscapes were, but how devoid of other people they were. Now we experienced that inside of the beta, and I thought that they were going to increase the density of, you know, free roaming enemy types, but they haven't. It pretty much, you don't really get enemy types until you spawn a mission set into the area, which can be a little disconcerting. But usually when you load into a map, you might see 2 or 3 players that are on the map as well. If you don't, and you're trying to run a mission specifically, don't be afraid to, you know, wait over here for some people to play up. 9 times out of 10, somebody's gonna probably show up while you're in the midst of your missions or something like that anyways. But in order to prevent failures, party up, guys. Missions in the later stages especially, they start to feel a little bit like dungeons, and you can get really overwhelmed by like ads and then specific mechanics like the skill drains that they have on some of the monster types. So party up, guys, even if you have to wait. Trust me, it'll be helpful. That brings up the next point. Get to the end game as quick as possible. You don't want to spend a whole lot of time inside of the normal world farming, because the rates, at least for me, the rates and some of the things like, you know, what you're farming in specifically and have access to are going to be far better inside the hard mode. So you want to at least get to the point in the game where you're able to clear out and start working on the hard mode. This is going to give you access to the level 100 weapons. It's going to give you access to some of the ultimate or the ultimate or Transcendent mods and the reactors and component pieces, even inside the, you know, boss battle hard extreme modes and stuff like that. So get to that as much as quickly as possible, so that way you can grind those. The story's pretty standard, fair live service type game. It's serviceable, but not really impressive in my opinion. The real grind for the game really doesn't begin till you get to this hard mode, to the hard mode area, where you're finally at the pinnacle of like drops for the thing, because otherwise all of the other stuff that you basically are getting, it can be removed. So make use of that. That brings me to another point. Embrace the grind, guys. It's a journey. It's not a rush. You know, there's 15 something descendants inside of the game currently, and that requires you leveling up all of those descendants so that way your mastery rank can really hit the peak. And that means that you're going to have to play a lot in terms of there. You're going to burn yourself out real quick if you're just trying to push, and every day you're spending 20 minutes grinding Albion, grinding White Star Gulch, which, by the way, farming is a good thing in this game. However, you don't have to spend all the time inside the new and greatest loot cave, which is, you know, most people tell you Albion Defense for the farm to level characters, and then the White Star Gulch, so that way you can get Kuiper and mods and stuff like that. Take a look at your access info tab over here, so that way you can see specifically what items that you're trying to farm, and you can see their acquisition info, so that way you know where to go for those items. It'll really help you out a lot. Where you're grinding, the best place for you to be grinding is where you're actually getting somewhere in. So if you're basically trying to get Ajax and you're farming in White Gulch, what's the point? It's not really getting you Ajax. If you're trying to get more catalysts and you're trying to get specific materials for that, guess what? Ain't gonna help you if you're farming inside the Albion Defense, because you're not getting what you need. So grind in the areas that you need to be, so that way you can get the acceleration. No point in having a whole bunch of Kuiper if you don't have the tools to research anything and basically accelerate your rate of play. And last but not least, guys, my suggestion: avoid the cash shop, at least for the moment. I think what we're basically doing by saying that to players, and I think a lot of people are saying that, is that we're trying to send a message to the developers, and you're making a statement about the game that you play. I think it's entirely different for value to be inherent inside of the game and you purchase things inside the cash shop. versus you purchase inside a cash shop and you're just telling the developers and publishers you're willing to spend whatever, and you're just throwing your money at whatever is on the wall. And I get it. There's some people who just have disposable income that's just like that. But you guys got to remember, we're a community and we're a gaming community, and we have to keep everyone in mind when we game reasonably, I guess is the best way to say. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Like I said, I'm enjoying the first Descendant. A couple of my friends are now jumping in, so I'm really looking forward to playing with them. It's a very interesting gameplay loop with a really good aesthetic. Hopefully it has the building blocks and the foundations to continue, and we don't see player counts just decrease and drop off as we have seen with some looter shooters as of late. Thank you guys again for supporting the channel, and remember, hit that like and subscribe. Until next time, guys, peace.